What's going on, everyone? Today is June 19th of 2023, and welcome back today to this, the 53rd edition of the Super Stream. Thanks to everybody who's jumping in live. For those of you watching this stream archived, if you'd like to jump to any of the stories that I'll talk about in this video, there should be chapters marked below, so you will be able to jump to any of these stories that I'll be covering in this video. On this channel, we focus on the ancient, occulted language of Gematria, the simple practice of coding numbers into the alphabet. Gematria is perhaps the clearest window into the synchronistic elements of the universe. Gematria, when paired with horology, or the study of time, and numerology within dates, reveals the mystical and geometric nature of our world, which is truly anything but what it seems. For a perfect example of this, I want to talk about the passing of televangelist Pat Robertson, and briefly cover this before I get into the meat of this video. Pat Robertson died at the age of 93, and as a Christian televangelist and the founder of the Christian Broadcasting Network, this is a number that we shouldn't be too surprised that he passed at. Think about how Christ hangs on the cross. If someone's hanging on a cross, their arms would be pointing to the numbers 9 and 3 behind them. The first man in the Bible, Adam, lives to age 930, and it's even believed that the crucifixion was on the 93rd day of the year, between the hours of 9 and 3 p.m. In Gematria, this basic number lettering system, more connections are revealed. God's Son equals 93, Jesus was of Nazareth 93, and the word crucifix 93. Whereas in Sumerian Gematria, Christianity equals 930. But what I like to focus on this channel is synchronicity, as it never seems to fail that one significant news story seems to connect to a recent one that I had recently decoded. And the story of Pat Robertson ties into this perfectly. Now, Pat Robertson died on June 8th. That was the same date that I made a video on the death of the Iron Sheik on my YouTube channel. And the Iron Sheik passed away on June 7th, just one day before that. Now, you may be thinking, what in the world does a televangelist have to do with a pro wrestler, a former WWE champion? Well, just last month, in May, I did a post on the death of another former WWE champion, superstar Billy Graham. And this post examined the numerical connections that Billy Graham, the wrestler, has to Billy Graham, the Reverend, a famous pastor who advised many presidents throughout his years. One of the things I pointed out in that video is that superstar Billy Graham died 2,095 days after the first Great American Eclipse, and in Gematria, using the reverse alphabetic order, superstar Billy Graham equals 295. And if you measure from his birthday to the pastor's birthday, you find they were born exactly 295 months apart. Now, the study of numerology is definitely not complete without prime numbers. The 295th prime number is 1933. Measuring from the death of the Reverend Billy Graham to the death of Pat Robertson, the other famous televangelist, you get exactly 1933 days. Of course, aside from the alphabetic order, there are several significant ciphers that I teach, and these are all based in ordinal. The ones you're looking at at the screen are called capitals mixed and capitals added, which just takes the alphabetic order, but either intertwines or adds capital letters in the cipher. Now, Pat Robertson's real name was Marion Gordon Pat Robertson, so Pat was just a nickname. And if you take the gematria of this name, you get double gematria of 68, either 608 or 680 in reverse caps. This stands out because Robertson died on June 8th, or 6-8. Robertson founded the Christian Broadcasting Network, whose flagship program was the 700 Club, which Pat Robertson regularly appeared on a long time ago. He died 68 days after the anniversary of that show's debut. Now, what's interesting about this is that his death fell 57 years after the debut of the 700 Club, which began airing on television in 1966. Well, 57 was also the numerology of the date he died. 6 plus 8 plus 20 plus 23 equals 57. The 57th prime number is 269. And using the standard alphabetic order, his real name, Marion Gordon Robertson, sums to 269 in the alphabetic order. His name, Marion Gordon Robertson, also sums to 118, this using the reverse reduction method. And Robertson died at the age of 1,118 months. So, of course, there's a lot of theories about Gematria and what's really going on in this world. Is it possibly true that people as old as 93 years old are being murdered by this code? I, of course, have my doubts, as it's uncommon for someone to live that long in the first place. I believe that, once again, we have this universe which is embedded with synchronicity, and nothing makes this more visible than Gematria. But, of course, I'm not the first person to build a Gematria calculator and realize something is going on, and without question, the media publishes stories by the numbers as well. And we got a really interesting one today about an incident that occurred yesterday on June 18th. So, in addition to space exploration, you have these billionaires paying millions of dollars to go into outer space. It turns out that these same people are also paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to go down deep to the ocean floor. And one of those submarines that was visiting the wreckage of the Titanic went missing yesterday. Aboard this craft was a billionaire named Hamish Harding. And what we're going to examine is how this story is completely by the numbers. And I would bring into question whether or not this craft truly went missing, or if perhaps something nefarious was afoot. The Titanic sank back in the year 1912, which was 111 years ago. What I consider to be the most significant cipher outside of the base 4 methods of Gematria is an extended cipher called Agrippa's Key, which is based in the ancient Latin alphabetic order. You'll see it's very similar to English standard Gematria, but uses the ancient Latin order with more modern English characters placed at the end. And in this method, the word iceberg equals 111. The sinking of the Titanic was immortalized in a 1997 film called Titanic, directed by James Cameron. And I thought this was interesting. If you take James Cameron's full name in the Latin method of Gematria, you get this value of 1164. The date that this submarine visiting the Titanic went missing fell 111 years and 64 days after the original shipwreck in 1912. To make that even more interesting is that the word shipwreck equals 1165. And if you include the end date when measuring to the sinking of the Titanic, which was April 15th, not the 12th, you get 111 years and 65 days. But let's look again at this 64. When you don't include the end date, This submarine went missing 64 days after the anniversary of the ship sinking. Well, Hamish Harding was born in the year 64. It's strange, they just recently removed his birthday from Wikipedia, but he is listed as a 1964 birth. Now, the birthday that they had listed for this man fell exactly 19,064 days after the sinking of the Titanic. And again, he was born in the year 1964. The name of the submarine that went missing is called the Titan. In the reduction and ordinal methods of Gematria, Titan sums to 19 and 64. Also consider the date 6/18 of 2023. Well, that's almost identical to the Fibonacci and square Gematria of RMS Titanic, 6/18 and 2022. But there's a lot more connecting Hamish Harding to the Titanic. First of all, there's a widespread conspiracy theory, which I tend to believe, that the Titanic was not actually the ship that sank in the North Atlantic. It was actually the old Olympia. And this was probably done for insurance purposes. There's a lot of evidence for this. Look it up yourself. But what I want to focus on is the number 113. All these words on your screen that allude to dishonesty and fiction sum to 113. The Titanic in reverse also sums to 113. Hamish Harding's birthday, June 24th of 1964, gives us numerology of 113. His birthday also has a life lesson number of 50, and in reduction, Titanic equals 50. The Titanic even sank on a date with numerology of 50 and 31. Titanic also 31. Hamish equals 31, and he disappeared on a date with a life lesson number of 31. With reverse caps, the name Hamish Harding even syncs up with RMS Titanic pretty well. So Hamish Harding was a billionaire, and he was known for piloting this One More Orbit mission. And this is a spacecraft that essentially circumnavigated the globe in record time. This was back in 2019. Notice how the name Harding in Latin matches One More Orbit in ordinal. If you measure from the beginning of that journey to the date he disappeared, you get 1,440 days, which matches RMS Titanic in reverse. Looking again at the number of days from the sinking of the Titanic to the disappearance of this submarine gives us 40,606 days. Now, this number actually did stick out to me because the number 466 connects to a very Masonic number. 3313 is the 466th prime number. Using the prime number cipher, which is the alphabetic order but with prime numbers taken into account, One More Orbit equals 466. The film Titanic famously starred actor Leonardo DiCaprio, whose name sums to 466. He's the one who died in the Titanic wreck in that film. And if you measure from the birthday of Leonardo DiCaprio to Kate Winslet, his co-star, you get 46 weeks and 6 days. But what really knocks this out of the park is the matching gematria that One More Orbit has with Hamish Harding, both summing to 295. Hamish Harding was born 295 days before the anniversary of the Titanic sinking. When he disappeared, it was 295 days before the next total solar eclipse. And he was known as a billionaire. Notice how billionaire has English Standard Gematria of 295. And why do I measure to an eclipse here? Well, back in the year 2020, I made this long post about how the sinking of the Titanic was a riddle connected to a total solar eclipse that occurred in the year 1919. Notice how the name Cameron, the director of the film, has perfect overlap with the word eclipse. The Titanic sank on a date with numerology of 13 and 31. Those of you familiar with my work know that 1331 is the ultimate eclipse number. And this coming weekend falls 1,331 weeks after the release of the movie Titanic. The number 1,331 connects to 1919 in Gematria. This is the value you get out in Latin. The 19th prime number is 67. Once again, one more orbit is 67. And Hamish Harding vanished on a date with numerology of 67. This is the number connected to total solar eclipse, human sacrifice, blood sacrifice, all 67. Now, later this year, there's an annular eclipse that passes over the southwestern portion of the United States, a very rare event. That eclipse also has numerology of 67, 13, and 31. And Hamish Harding died 119 days before that eclipse. Just like his name in ordinal, Hamish Harding, 119. There's also another connection he has to James Cameron. The two men both have gematria of 232. He went missing on June 18th, which is a date that sums to the 36th prime number. James Cameron was born 3,600 days exactly before Hamish Harding, and he was 306 days after his birthday when Harding disappeared. So, this is a story, once again, where I would take into question whether or not it's just natural organic numerology, but I guess what I'm saying is that it could be, based on what I've seen anyway. So, the next few parts of this video are going to take us into this Super Bowl 59 riddle. And all these stories are connected through presidents of the United States. One of my most recent videos on my channel talked about the skull and bones riddle in the death of actor Treat Williams. Treat Williams reportedly died in a motorcycle crash on June 12th. A couple days later, this news story popped up about a U.S. Olympic ski jumper who also died in a motorcycle crash on June 12th. And this was Patrick Gasienica. And I'm not sure if he has a Wikipedia page. Here, he dies on June 12th, and this was the same date as actor Treat Williams. And both men died in a motorcycle accident. Something I've been talking about regularly on this channel is this giant 223 and 322 riddle we have going on this year. Skull and Bones University is headquartered at Yale University. Sorry, the Skull and Bones Secret Society, I misspoke. And Yale University turns 322 years old this year. 322 is the number on the Skull and Bones logo. And in ordinal, skull and crossbones sums to 223. Well, also in that same alphabetic order, the actor's full name, Richard Treat Williams, equals 223. If we instead use capital letters, his common name, Treat Williams, equals 322. His death on June 12th fell on the 99th birthday of former Skull and Bones president George H.W. Bush. Now, on the videos section of my site, I want to point out this video on Paul Walker that I made, as he died on November 30th, which was the same date that George H.W. Bush died, and the death of Paul Walker is completely coded up and down with numbers of skull and bones. In fact, this guy starred in a movie called The Skulls at one point. So what are the odds that we get this death of a ski jumper who also died in a motorcycle crash on George Bush's birthday? So once again, I forgot to mention, this is not the only George W. Bush, or H.W. Bush in this case. Now, of course, he has a son named George W. Bush, who was also a president, and he was also a member of Skull and Bones. But what a lot of people don't know is that there was an older George Bush born way back in 1796. This is another distant relative of the Bush family, and he too was also born on June 12th. Now, George Bush was not only a biblical scholar, but he was also a Zionist, which explains a lot about what his distant relative eventually started talking about, bringing the New World Order into existence. This George Bush died 99 days after his birthday. And here we have two motorcycle crashes on this George Bush's 99th birthday. Now, back in the year 1990, George Bush announced the New World Order on the date 9/11, exactly 11 years before the 9/11 attacks. And it's interesting that he did this in 1990, right? The middle two digits are 99. In fact, it ends with 990. In Latin Gematria, NWO, the abbreviation for the New World Order, equals 990. And consider how 99 is 9 times 11. 9/11, of course, the event that his son George W. Bush was in office for. The number 99 has matching gematria with the word motorcycle, both summing to 129 and 141. In standard gematria, 99 equals 1128. Ski jumper Patrick Gasienica, who died on George Bush's 99th birthday, was born on November 28th, or 1128. So he dies on Bush's 99th birthday. And look at the gematria of the word ski jump. Ski jump equals 99, 90, and 999. I can't say I've ever seen this in gematria where you get a 999 and then another 999 in Latin. These ciphers don't have the same base numerology, so this is incredibly rare. But what's even more insane about this is if you add these numbers, 99 plus 90 plus 999, you get 1188. And 99 years is exactly 1188 months. Skull and Bones is, of course, commonly thought to be an arm of the Bavarian Illuminati, which sums to 188. Motorcycle accident equals 188 in that same ordinal cipher. And Treat Williams died in Dorset, Vermont. Well, that's where his crash was anyway. 188 is also the first multiple of 94. And George Bush Sr. died at the age of 94. The name Gasienica, also 94 with caps. So let's go back at this Skull and Bones riddle. So we talked about how this tied into Richard Treat Williams and Treat Williams. But this is also present in the death of Patrick Gasienica, who died in a motorcycle accident in Bowl Valley, Illinois, which sums to 223 ordinal. George Bush Sr. died in Houston, which equals 223, whereas Patrick Gasienica participated in the Olympics, which equals 223. 223 is a prime number, the 48th. George Bush Sr. graduated Skull and Bones in the year 48. And the word motorcycle equals 48. The names Patrick and Gasienica both equal 48 in different ciphers. His name Patrick has Latin gematria of 263. His crash occurred in Bowl Valley, Illinois, which equals 263. This is also the value of skull and crossbones. So we get the 223 ordinal, but the 263 reverse. Patrick died on a date with numerology of 61. Skull and crossbones in reduction equals 61. And notice how skull and bones, if you were to use the ampersand instead of the word and, you get gematria of 2022. And Gasienica was a participant in the 2022 Winter Olympics. Skull and Bones was founded by two different students of Yale University, William Russell and Alphonso Taft. William Russell was born on August 12th, which can be written 12/8. That's interesting because George Bush Sr. was born exactly 128 years after this George Bush, the biblical scholar. Patrick Gasienica, remember, he was born on 11/28. But when Gasienica died, he was 1,280 weeks old. The ski jumper was also born 3,885 weeks after George Bush Sr. And you'll notice that contains the digits 885. Skull and crossbones in Latin equals 885. William Huntington Russell died in the year 1885. In standard gematria, skull and crossbones also equals 1105. The other founder of Skull and Bones, Alphonso Taft, was born on 1105. If you take the gematria of Skull and Bones founders, William Huntington Russell, and add it to Alphonso Taft, notice how you get values of 196 and 169. Gasienica died 196 days after his last birthday and 169 days before his next. And the reason these numbers are so significant, 169 and 196, these are both square numbers. The 14th square and the 13th square. 14 and 13. Well, when you write out skull and bones with the ampersand, you get 13 and 14 in the ordinal methods. So there's something clearly connected to George Bush and presidents. And in this next story, I want to explain how this is connected to another president, Ulysses S. Grant, as well as James Monroe, the 5th U.S. president. And this leads into something connected to the first president, George Washington. Now, this is a story I don't necessarily like to talk about. This is one of the darker stories I've decoded since I've been doing gematria. Essentially, you have this event in Claremont County, Ohio, in Monroe Township. And this guy basically murdered his 3 sons in cold blood, shot them all to death. But he let his wife live. She witnessed the whole thing. I mean, this whole thing is so horrible. It's like pure evil. It doesn't get any darker than this. Now, I looked at this story and I saw that it occurred on June 15th. And of course, June 15th. 15/6, right? The big 33 date. The 156th prime number is 911. And in Satanic Gematria, ritual human sacrifice yields this 911. So when I saw this story and the date that it occurred on, without even looking at the Gematria, I knew that the man involved would have sacrifice numbers in his name. And of course, Gematria, like always, never disappoints. First off, let's look at the date numerology of this incident. 64, 28, 44, and 17. These are all of the values found in the word kill in the base ciphers. June 15th also leaves 199 days on the calendar. Monroe Township, Claremont County, where this occurred, is the birthplace of former President Ulysses S. Grant. The name Ulysses S. Grant equals 199 and 46 in Gematria. 199 is also the 46th prime number. and the word sacrifice sums to 46. With capital letters, the name Grant equals 86. Now, the number 86 is often used as slang for offing or getting rid of someone. Human sacrifice and blood sacrifice, both 86. The man who committed this atrocity in Ohio was Chad Dowerman, whose name sums to 86 in the alphabetic order. In reverse, his name sums to 211. The phrase ritual human sacrifice equals 211 in the alphabetic order. You'll also see the number 131. This is the 32nd prime number. Chad Dowerman was 32 years old when he committed this act. Notice how the word killing also has this gematria of 211 and 47. 211 is the 47th prime number. This occurred in Ohio, which equals 47 as well. Using Latin gematria, and let's also crack open capitals mixed. Look at these values, 226 and 170. The word sacrifice equals 226 and 170. 170 is also the gematria of Monroe Township, Claremont County, Ohio. 170. You also get 154. This is known as the Grant birthplace. And Grant birthplace equals 154, 251, and 73. Just like ritual sacrifice, 154, 251, and 73. Of course, this story would have broken on June 16th, which is the Latin value of ritual sacrifice. Furthermore, the kids he killed were ages 3, 4, and 7. In Hebrew gematria, the word for sacrifice equals 347. Monroe Township, I believe, is named after James Monroe. James Monroe left office as president in 1825. Monroe Township was founded in 1825, so there's a clear link here. This murder occurred 347 days after Independence Day, which is when James Monroe died. 347 is also the 69th prime number. It's the birthplace of Ulysses, which equals 69. Ulysses became the president in the year 69, and Monroe Township was even founded on June 9th, or 6-9. So I pointed out how ritual human sacrifice gives us the 911, the 156th prime, which connected to the date. Grant birthplace also equals 1506. Now, this is all connected to the 666, the beast code. The phrases 666 and 666 both equal 156, like the date that this happened. 156 is also connected to 33. Of course, 33 equals 156. Don't lose sight of the reduction values, 6, 6, and 6. In Latin gematria, 33 has the same gematria as ritual human sacrifice, 895. And on top of that, the name Ulysses equals 895. And when Ulysses S. Grant died, he would have turned exactly 3,300 weeks old the next day. So this connects us to this Ravens riddle. June 15th. This was also the same date that we learned about the death of Ray Lewis III, the son of Ravens Hall of Famer Ray Lewis. So this all happened on the same date. And notice how the President Grant, the name Grant, is a perfect overlap in gematria with Raven. On top of that, the name Ulysses S. Grant equals 1213. 1213 is the same value as Baltimore Ravens in that same cipher. And when you look at this number closer, 1213, Baltimore Ravens 1213, this is a prime number, the 198th prime number. We're told that 3 children were killed. 3 equals 198. 666 is the number of the beast, which equals 198. Claremont County, Monroe Township, is 198 years old. And when you write out Claremont County, it sums to 198. In reverse, Claremont County equals 180, like the number 18. Ulysses S. Grant was the 18th president of the United States. July 4th, Independence Day, which is when James Monroe died, is the date leaving 180 days on the calendar. So the Ravens play in Baltimore, and Baltimore is the city where the Star-Spangled Banner was written. See how Star-Spangled Banner equals 666? This number we were talking about earlier. Well, when you write out the number 666 as it's spelled, it sums to 275. Monroe Township, Claremont County, Ohio, 275 in Latin. And if you multiply 666 times 2, it's 1332. And if you look at the founding date of Monroe Township, measuring to the murders, it was exactly 10,332 weeks old. So how does this connect to George Washington? Well, you're about to find out. So we're going to talk about how this is all connected to Super Bowl 59, which is not the next Super Bowl. This is the Super Bowl that's played in 2025. But in Gematria, Super Bowl 59 equals 2022. Now, this is a number that's highly significant to George Washington, whose birthday falls on February 22nd, or 2/22. And in Gematria, George Washington sums to the 222nd prime number, 1399. So, Ulysses S. Grant is the president who was from Monroe County. And when you write out the name Ulysses S. Grant, you also get this value of 152. On the date of the murders, George Washington would have been exactly 15,200 weeks old. He would have also been 113 days after his birthday. On top of that, it was 10 months and 13 days before Ulysses S. Grant's birthday. Well, the 113th prime number is 617. 2 days later, on June 17th, or 6/17, we got a shooting at a music festival in George, Washington. That's right. There's actually a city called George in the state of Washington. And at this music festival called Beyond Wonderland, there was allegedly a mass shooting where someone was firing into a campground and was said to have killed 2 people. Now, if someone really wanted to cause chaos, they could have done a lot more damage. So, what's really going on here? I don't know. So, we're talking about June 15th. Ray Lewis III died possibly on June 14th, the night of the 14th. But news broke on the 15th and then was in the headlines on the 16th. And this is how things work, right? There's multiple days sometimes. Now, on June 16th, the same day that the death of Ray Lewis III was in the news, and of course, what's important to note is that my video on Ray Lewis III talked about how it was connected to the Catholic Church. Back in 2019, Pope Francis was gifted a Baltimore Ravens jersey, and this story was completely connected up and down with numerology connected to that. So on the same day that the death of Ray Lewis III was in the news, this anti-Catholic group, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, they're called, they were honored at Dodger Stadium before a game between the Dodgers and San Francisco Giants. Now, this is pure division, right? For many years, we've seen this play out. Men divided from women, whites divided from blacks, straights divided from gays. It just never ends. And this was completely divisive in nature. There's no way that they wanted to just simply honor this group because they knew they were going to piss off a lot of people, and indeed they did. But what I'm going to talk about is how this honoring is completely coded by the numbers, and it all connects to the manager of the Dodgers, whose middle name is Ray. Just like how Ray Lewis III was in the news that day. So this game was played in Los Angeles, which has reduction gematria of 37. The Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are headquartered in San Francisco. San Francisco is situated on the 37th parallel. The sisters are abbreviated SPI, and in gematria, SPI equals 37. They like to dress up as nuns. That seems to be their thing. And the word nuns equals 370. And in this game, after the sisters were honored, the San Francisco Giants picked up their 37th victory. The 37th prime number is 157. Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence and Giant both equal 157. But the number 37 is also the value of papyrus. And it just so happens that papyrus 115 is the number that many people believe reveals the number of the beast. So once again, this all happened on June 16th, or 616. 616 is believed to be the other number of the beast. The manager of the Dodgers, his full name, David Ray Roberts, sums to 1606, just like how this date would be written internationally. And again, his middle name of Ray. This is a Jesuit riddle. The Society of Jesus has its emblem with the 32 rays of the sun. The full name, David Ray Roberts, sums to 224. The Society of Jesus equals 224. David Ray Roberts also equals 181, which is interesting because he coaches the Los Angeles Dodgers, which equals 181. They also share some more numbers, as you'll see. Now, the Catholic Church is led by the first Jesuit pope in the history of its organization, Pope Francis. The Society of Jesus in reverse. We mentioned the 224, but in reverse it sums to 235 and 91. This game was played exactly 235 weeks before Pope Francis turns 91 years old. And that's interesting on itself, but on that same date, when the Pope turns 91, it'll be 666 months and 16 days after Dave Roberts' birthday. 666, 616, the two numbers of the beast. Also think about how planet Earth, we're told that the orbital velocity is 66,616 miles per hour, which I don't think that's actually listed on Wikipedia. Look at this. They've rounded it up now to 67,000. Okay, well, that's cool. But 666 and 616, we'll talk about how this is coded into the big Ravens riddle. We're going to do this mega post at the end here to wrap things up. So the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, they were honored on the 167th day of the year. Pope Francis is named after Francis of Assisi, which equals 167. So is the city of San Francisco, which is where the sisters are headquartered. The word Jesuit equals 167, with capital letters. This was the Dodgers' 70th game of the season, and Francis in ordinal equals 70. And consider how the most iconic structure in San Francisco is the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, if you measure from the birthday of Pope Francis to the opening of the Golden Gate Bridge, you get the golden ratio, 161 days. The golden ratio starts with 1.61. And of course, another word for pope is pontiff, which comes from pontifex in Latin, which translates to bridge builder. So, of course, Pope Francis, connected to a bridge in San Francisco. The word pontiff sums to 86, and the current pontiff is 86 years old. He was also 181 days after his birthday. Remember, David Ray Roberts equals 181, just like Los Angeles Dodgers. So here the Los Angeles Dodgers doing a major Francis riddle 181 days after his birthday. But 86 is also the value of Clayton Edward Kershaw. It was the Dodgers' star pitcher, Kershaw, who spoke out in the media against this event. Kershaw, claiming to be a man of faith, not a Catholic necessarily, but didn't like what the group stood for. Notice how Clayton Kershaw was 35 years and 89 days old. The words Catholic and religion sum to 35 and 89. 89 is also the value of both Los Angeles Dodgers and Los Angeles, California. Clayton sitting on 205 wins in his career. Pope, Jesuits, Jesuit order, all 205. And look at the name Kershaw, how it overlaps with Jesuits ridiculously well. The word Catholic, also 194, like Jesuits and Kershaw. Kershaw wears number 22, which is Jesuits in reduction. Nuns, 22. LGBTQ, 22. Kershaw was born on 319, which is LGBTQ in standard. Kershaw was also born on the 79th day of the year. Society of Jesus, 79. That's the 22nd prime number. 22 like the number he wears, and 22 matches Jesuit. So what a crazy thing to do, right? Honor this group which is openly mocking religion. But, now these people are accepted in mainstream society. How bizarre. Especially considering since mainstream society doesn't accept videos like this. And, not to toot my own horn here, but remember, I used to get hundreds of thousands of views on this channel, which never happens anymore. Because in 2018, YouTube changed its algorithm to disallow people like myself from getting too popular. And when you see what I'm decoding, it's clear to see why. So, how does this all point to the Ravens going to the Super Bowl in 2024 and 2025? Now, as a caveat, I want to remind people that in December, I was doing a whole bunch of work on this major riddle with the Packers and the Vikings. And I thought it might be pointing to the Super Bowl. What ended up happening instead is that the Packers and Vikings played each other one day after the death of the former Pope, Benedict. On my channel, if you go to the videos section, you'll see my latest upload on Damar Hamlin, which explains this whole riddle with the Pope, the Packers, Damar Hamlin collapsing the next day. So, as with anything, it's connected to the Catholic Church and the Jesuit order. So, I mention this because this doesn't mean the Ravens will be in Super Bowl 59. There are multiple scripts running for multiple teams. However, I challenge anyone to find a better script than this. In fact, it might even be too good. And with sports betting being legalized and, this cabal that runs the sports leagues, they know people are looking at numbers. So if you think that sports are rigged and you also know that sports betting is legal, then that should raise red flags to you. But with that said, I want to talk about why I think, this is what it points to. And whether or not it does, the riddle is so powerful, it just blows my mind. And I actually called this a mega post. This is the longest post I've ever made, or at least in the last few years. So I'm going to spend the rest of this video talking about this because it's going to take up the rest of my time for sure. So once again, this is all about the Jesuit order and the rays of the sun on the Jesuit emblem. Super Bowl 59 will be in New Orleans, Louisiana. And it doesn't have an official logo yet, but I did like this image that I took from online. The Super Bowl falls on a date with 36 and 18 numerology. The Roman numerals LIX have matching base gematria with IHS, the letters on the Jesuit emblem. The ravens were named after a poem called The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, who died in the city of Baltimore. The name Poe shares these numbers as well. Poe died at the age of 40. This Super Bowl will fall on the 40th day of the year. And isn't it interesting that Super Bowl 59 falls on the anniversary of the Baltimore Ravens, February 9th. In fact, it will be the 29th anniversary, being founded on 2/9. If you measure from the publishing date of The Raven, which was January 29th of 1845, to the date of this Super Bowl, you get 180 years and 11 days. This contains the digits 1811, which is the Latin value of the Society of Jesus. That's also the 280th prime number, and Edgar Allan Poe died on the 280th day of the year. Of course, Ray Lewis III also died at the age of 28. My video went in depth on that number as well. So let's talk about this number 59, as this is the 59th Super Bowl in 2025. The name Louis III is 59, just like Freemasonry, and the Jesuit order can be viewed as the Masonic branch of the Catholic Church. Also in reduction, Pope Francis equals 59. Super Bowl 59 equals 59. 59 is also the value of revelation, which we'll get into. When the Ravens were founded, Pope Francis was 59 years old. Ray Lewis III died 59 days after another Ray. Back in April, I made 2 videos on the death of Marquette student Cameron Ray and how it was connected to the Jesuit order, particularly Pope Francis. So this seemed like a minor story on the surface, right? Just a student dying on campus. But I knew there was much more to this, so I have 2 videos on this. Ray Lewis III died 59 days after Cameron Ray died at Marquette, and the word kill equals 59. The number 59 equals 615, and Ray Lewis III, his brother, first tweeted about his death on 6/15, June 15th. Meanwhile, when Cameron Ray died, not only was the Pope in office for 10 years and 35 days, but the Pope was 1,035 months old the day before. 1035 is the English standard gematria of the number 59. Notice how the name Poe also equals 135. Furthermore, Super Bowl 59 falls 135 days before Ravens founder Art Modell turns 100 years old. And in gematria, Art Modell equals 100. So how crazy is that? Ray Lewis III dying on 6/15. The other Ray dying 10 years, 35 days into the Pope. And then 135 days later, after the Super Bowl, Art Modell turns 100. And Art Modell equals 100. So 59 is the 17th prime number. And if John Harbaugh is still the coach of the Ravens, which he probably will be, that'll be his 17th season for Super Bowl 59. The name Ray also equals 17. Both men named Ray died on dates with 17 numerology. Kill, sacrifice, ritual human sacrifice, all with 17 Gematria. The Ravens were founded on a date with 107 numerology, and that's because Edgar Allan Poe died on October 7th, written 10/7. Think about his famous poem, The Raven. Quoth the Raven nevermore equals 107. This also ties in to Lamar Jackson. Remember, the Pope received a Lamar Jackson jersey. I thought I bookmarked this. Maybe I didn't. So, Francis jersey. All right, here we go. And this is what this has everything to do with. This happened back in 2019 on December 4th, and we will talk about this date at length. I wish I had a reward for people who make it to the end of this stream, because you're not going to believe how long this post is. But Lamar Jackson, the quarterback of the Ravens, he was born on January 7th, or 1/7. And notice how the Ravens and Lamar Jackson were both born 187 years after Edgar Allan Poe. And Poe would have been exactly 11,187 weeks old when Ray Lewis III died. This 187 is, of course, the homicide code, but it also connects the Jesuit order to the eclipse code. So what we're doing here is going over the Gematria of kill. So we talked about the 59, the two Rays dying 59 days apart. We looked at the 17, but what about the 44? Ray also equals 44 in ordinal, and both men named Ray died on dates with 44 numerology. I also discussed how the death was connected to Kurt Cobain because he died in Cobain Hall. Well, both Cobain and Cobain equal 44. They both died on 44 dates, and Cameron Ray died in Wisconsin, which equals 44. Super Bowl 59 will be played at the Superdome, which equals 44. And the city of New Orleans has matching Gematria with both 44 and Jesuit order. If you measure from this date, when the Pope got his Ravens jersey, to the death of Cameron Ray at Marquette, it was 1,231 days. Marquette University is in the state of Wisconsin, which equals 1231. And the Super Bowl will be held in New Orleans, which equals 1231. The Green Bay Packers are the NFL team from Wisconsin. And notice how they won Super Bowls 1, 2, and then had a title drought until 31. 1, 2, 31. Just like Wisconsin and New Orleans. And they won Super Bowl 31 in New Orleans. In fact, New Orleans was also the last site that the Baltimore Ravens won the Super Bowl 47. So this guy, Cameron Ray, was a student at Marquette University, which equals 93. Raymond Anthony Lewis, John William Harbaugh, Lamar Demetrius Jackson, all members of the Ravens, with names summing to 93. This brings us to the poem, The Raven, which equals 93 and 939. The Raven was first published on a date with 93 numerology. Furthermore, this Cameron Ray student, he was born on January 31st of 2004. And if you look up Ray Lewis on Wikipedia, you find out that he was accused of being involved in a murder that occurred on January 31st. So the next part of this, we're going to talk about the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Baltimore, which is the first Catholic church in the entire United States. So Baltimore, essentially the home of Catholicism. The Baltimore Ravens turn exactly 29 years old on the date 2/9, which is when Super Bowl 59 occurs. Ray Lewis III would have been 29 years old and 250 days old for that Super Bowl. And look at the date of that Super Bowl, 2/9/25. 2/9/25, just like his age. The word pi equals 29 and 25. And this brings us to the next part of this riddle, how it's all connected to the circle. You'll notice that the next eclipse that occurs after Super Bowl 59 falls 33 days later. And it falls on Pi Day, March 14th. By the way, this is also called a C, the Roman Catholic Church. The word C has matching gematria with pi. Pi equals 16. 3.14 equals 98. Society of Jesus equals 1698. So does Raymond Anthony Lewis Jr., which is the full name of the linebacker and current Hall of Famer. If you write out 3.14, it's a super match with the Society of Jesus. And remember, the Jesuits have a circular emblem. Also, the founder of the Ravens, Arthur Bertram Modell, his name equals 224, just like 3.14 and the Society of Jesus. So earlier I pointed out how Cameron Ray died at Marquette at Cobean Hall. Cobean equals 105. Cobain also equals 105. Super Bowl 59 ends the NFL's 105th season. 105 is the ordinal value of 9/11. So there's this book called The Life of Pi, which is, of course, connected to circles and pi, and it was first published on September 11th, 2001, the exact same day as the 9/11 attacks. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, 666, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, John William Harbaugh, Baltimore, Maryland, all summing to 105. So pi teaches us the mathematics of the circle. Mathematics of the circle sums to 126 in multiple methods. Just like September 11th in Latin, 126. This number is also shared with Lamar Jackson and Pope Francis. Of course, the Pope's full name, summing to 1206, just like Lamar's. The Ravens were founded on a date with 126 numerology, and Lamar Jackson will be exactly 10,260 days old for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl falls 126 days after the anniversary of Poe's death and 126 days before the anniversary of Ray Lewis III's. Not only does Super Bowl 59 fall 12 years and 6 days after the last Ravens championship, but that game, Super Bowl 47, was also 12 years and 6 days after Super Bowl 35, which was their first Super Bowl. The Raven was first published on January 29th, which kind of looks like a 126, but this is 129. Lamar Jackson was born 10 months and 29 days after the Ravens were founded. His birthday also falls 129 days before Ray Lewis's. The Pope got his Ravens jersey 1,290 days before Ray Lewis III died, and that jersey contained the number 8 which equals 129. The founder of the Ravens, Modell, his name equals 129. So let's talk about how this is all connected to September 11th. This is so crazy. Edgar Allan Poe was born on January 19th, which is written 119. Of course, September 11th can also be written 11/9. Notice how Raven equals 119 with capital letters. The Archdiocese of Baltimore was founded 1,001 weeks and 6 days, an upside-down 9/11, before Poe was born. But this is also 19 years and 75 days. Notice how Ray Lewis, the most legendary Raven, was born in the year 1975. Ray Lewis was 7,575 days old when the Ravens were founded, but I'm getting sidetracked. Back to this 9/11. Ray Lewis Jr. was born 166 years and 116 days after Edgar Allan Poe. In fact, 9/11 fell 119 days after Ray Lewis's birthday and 119 days before Lamar Jackson's. The Pope got his Ravens jersey 10 months and 16 days after Poe's last birthday and 1 month and 16 days before his next. It was a Jackson jersey. The name Jackson equals 116. When Ray Lewis's son died, the other Ray, Cameron, would have been 1,010 weeks and 6 days old. The founder of the Ravens, Art Modell, was born 116 years and 156 days after Edgar Allan Poe. Well, that stands out because 9/11 is the 156th prime number. And when the Ravens won their first Super Bowl, not only would Edgar Allan Poe have been 10,019 weeks old, but it was also a span of exactly 156 years after the publishing of The Raven. Super Bowl 59 has this 156 gematria. Ray Lewis's son died on the 15th of June, 15/6. And he was also born on the 156th day of the year. 156 brings us to this 33666 code. Eclipse equals 156 in Hebrew, and this is because eclipses always occur 1, 5, or 6 lunar phases apart. Super Bowl 59 falls 33 days before a total lunar eclipse on Pi Day. And look at how lunar equals 33. Eclipse equals 33. This is Ray Lewis's birth numerology, 33. His son died exactly 33 weeks before the birthday of Cameron Ray. Cameron Ray was born exactly 3 years and 3 days after the first Ravens Super Bowl championship. Cameron Ray was 3,330 days old when the Pope became the Pope in 2013. Lamar Jackson was born 333 days after the Ravens were founded. When the Pope got his Lamar Jackson jersey, the Pope was 30,303 days old. And that was also 33 days before Lamar Jackson's birthday. Super Bowl 59 falls 33 days after Lamar's birthday and 333 days before his next. The Super Bowl also falls 333 days after the anniversary of Pope Francis taking the helm, and 33 days before the next anniversary. Super Bowl 59 also falls exactly 33 weeks after Art Modell's 99th birthday. And of course, 33 times 3 is 99, but we're not even done. As we explained here earlier, 33 equals 895. And if you measure from when he got his Ravens jersey to the date of Super Bowl 59, you get 1,895 days. You also get a 275 if you look at the weeks. 666 equals 275. If you instead write this out as it's written in the Bible, 603 score and 6, you get 313. Well, Super Bowl 59 falls exactly 313 lunar orbits after 9/11. Francis even became the Pope on 313 of 13. 313 is the 65th prime number, And Raymond, which equals 605, he died 605 days before Super Bowl 59. Now, this is also a span of 606 days. This represents the number 66, which is the first multiple of 33. And 33 equals 66. So does Quoth the Raven. Baltimore Ravens, 66. Their coach, Harbaugh, 66. The Marquette student, Cameron Ray, 660. Cameron Ray died on the 17th of April, or 17/4. When you write out Quoth the Raven, it equals 174. The Pope got his Ravens jersey 174 years after the Raven was published. 174 is also number of the beast. 174. Baltimore Ravens. 174. Just like Quoth, if I can write this out, the Raven, 174. Pi also equals 174, and so does Baltimore. So does Pope Francis. Now, in reverse, number of the beast equals 258. Raymond Anthony Lewis, 258. Lamar Jackson, 258. Lamar Jackson was born 2,580 days before Cameron Ray. That's also 7 years and 24 days. And in Latin, number of the beast equals 724. Jesuits also 724 in standard. This verse of the Bible that reveals the number of the beast, Revelation 13:18, that's the 229th verse of Revelation. Ray Lewis III was exactly 2,290 days old when 9/11 happened. Lamar Jackson's full name equals 229. So does the name Francis. So does the number 8. And this is the 50th prime number. And on the same day that Ray Lewis III died, the Tampa Bay Rays became the first MLB team to win 50 games this season. They even did it in 72 games, which connects to Jesuit order, the Jesuit Pope taking office on day 72. So that's right, it even includes the MLB, the Rays team. So let's talk more about 666, this number of the beast. Recently, Lamar Jackson signed the largest contract in the NFL, so now he's the league's highest paid player. When he signed that contract, he was 9,606 days old, which looks a lot like a 666. Mathematics of the circle, mathematical perfection, 666. Baltimore is where the Star-Spangled Banner was written, 666. The team is named after a poem from Edgar Allan Poe, which equals 666. Lamar's jersey number 8 matches Edgar Allan Poe in Latin, 294. But what's crazy about 294, 666 equals 294. 603 with the ampersand, 294. When the Pope got his Ravens jersey, Ray Lewis III was exactly 294 months old. Had he gotten the jersey a day later, it was exactly 6,660 days after 9/11. And it was a number 8 jersey. Number 8 jersey equals 1,666. When Francis became the Pope, Lamar Jackson was 16 years, 66 days old, or 5,910 days old. 591 is the Gematria of Marquette. Marquette equals 591. The student's name was Cameron Ray, which looks a lot like that. You take the 6 and flip it upside down, you get 591. Measuring from the date the Pope got his Ravens jersey to the death of Cameron Ray was also 1,230 days. 123. In reverse, Marquette equals 123. Ray Lewis III died 123 months after Francis became the Pope. In reverse, The Raven equals 123. The Catholic Church of Baltimore was founded on a date with numerology of 123. This is another number that connects to LIX, IHS, and pi. The famous line from the poem, The Raven, is nevermore. Quoth the Raven, nevermore. Nevermore equals 995 in Gematria. When Pope Francis got his Ravens jersey, he was 995 months old. Ray Lewis Jr. was born 1995 months after Edgar Allan Poe, and he was born on a date with 95 numerology. His son, who just died, was born in the year 1995, or 95, like the papacy equals 95. Louis III equals 95. Baltimore equals 95. 666 equals 95. So does Super Bowl 59, 95. Cameron Ray at Marquette died exactly 95 weeks before Super Bowl 59. Notice how that's also 665 days. Well, on the date of Super Bowl 59, Ray Lewis Jr. will be exactly 665 lunar orbits old. Think about how the name Raymond matches the moon. Raymond, the moon, right? His lunar age for the Super Bowl, 665, just like Cameron Ray dying 665 days before the game. His full name, Raymond Anthony Lewis Jr., equals 283. Well, that's the Latin value of the moon, and 666. Baltimore Ravens, Marquette University, both 283. The 283rd day of the year is October 10th, or 1010, like Revelation. That would have also been Cameron Ray's age when Ray Lewis III died. Believe it or not, we have one more section of this post, guys. Ray Lewis III would have been exactly 1,549 weeks old for the Super Bowl. So just to remind you, not only would he have the pi connection, 29, 25, like pi, but he would have also been an exact number of weeks old, 1,549 weeks. This is the 244th prime number. The number 666 first appears in pi at the 2,440th digit. And I might as well take the time, right? We've been going for so long. I might as well show you. If you search for 666 in pi, the 2,440th decimal digit. Pretty cool, huh? Because the word satanic equals 244. So is 666 really satanic? Or is it just a significant mathematical number? Now, if you take the entire text of the Raven, in the reverse satanic method, it sums to 244,000. And let's just go ahead and do this. And I don't even like doing this. This seems ridiculous. But I don't think it is. Look at this. You take the entire text of the Raven. It sums to 244,000, okay? And this is in the satanic method. Satanic 244. On the date of 9/11, Lamar Jackson was exactly 244 weeks old. Ravens founder Art Modell died 244 days after Lamar's birthday. Edgar Allan Poe died 244 weeks after The Raven was published. Cameron Ray died 244 days before the Pope's birthday. The number 244 connects to 19. In Latin, 19 equals 244. And in Hebrew, kill equals 19 and 244. Well, there's 19 years in the moon's metonic cycle, and Cameron Ray was 19 years old when he died. So here we are back with the moon, right? 19 years. The metonic cycle is named after Meton of Athens. Meton equals 225. This Super Bowl will be played in the year 225. Cameron Ray died at Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which equals 225. If the Pope is still alive for that Super Bowl, he'll be 1,090 lunar phases, which represents 19. Edgar Allan Poe, born on the 19th day of the year. The name Ray equals 19, and both Cameron Ray and Ray Lewis died on dates with 19 numerology. This brings us back to the Jesuit emblem with its 32 rays of the sun. Well, the number 32 sums to 1967, and the 19th prime number is 67. Again, talking about the moon, the metonic cycle, 19 years. Meton of Athens is the astronomer that this is all attributed to. And notice how Meton equals 67, the 19th prime number. 19-year cycle. Athens equals 67, and even 244. Look at that. 244 and 67. Freemasonry equals 67. So does Super Bowl 59. Ray Lewis III, 67. So does the name Lewis. Human sacrifice, blood sacrifice, both 67. 67 is also total solar eclipse. We also get a 994 with total solar eclipse. John William Harbaugh and the Society of Jesus equal 1994. And if you measure from the first day of 1994 to the birth of Ray Lewis III, you get 520 days, which is the number 52, like his father Ray Lewis wore, number 52. Pope equals 52. C equals 52. Quoth the Raven, nevermore, 52 in reduction. When the Pope got his Ravens jersey, it was on December 4th of 2019. Well, on December 4th, exactly 2 years later, we got a total solar eclipse from Saros Series 152. The date December 4th connects to 52. When you write out 52, it equals 124, like December 4th. The name Lewis, 124. Lamar Jackson is now getting paid $52 million per year. Interesting, $52 million. And check out how Lamar Jackson has birth numerology of 124. If you measure from 12/4 to the date that Lamar Jackson got his $52 million contract, it was 1,240 days. The 52nd prime number is 239. Ray Lewis III died 239 days before the date of Super Bowl 59, and Super Bowl 59 equals 239. The Metropolitan Archdiocese, check this out. Apparently there's 23 counties in Maryland, and this church in Baltimore covers 9 of them, so 9 of 23 counties. The coach of the Ravens was born on 9/23, September 23rd. You may recall this is a huge number for the Pope, who visited the White House at 9:23 a.m. on 9/23, visiting America on his 923rd day as Pope. Well, Cameron Ray died 1 year, 9 months, and 23 days before Super Bowl 59. Ray Lewis III died 9 months and 23 days before the second Great American Total Solar Eclipse. Super Bowl 59 falls 307 days after that eclipse. 307 like Harbaugh, 307. And on the date of the Super Bowl, Harbaugh will be 139 days after his birthday. Ray Lewis III equals 139, just like Freemasonry. And that eclipse, which covers the United States, belongs to Saros series 139. You know, it's funny. When I started this decode, I was clean shaven. But now I got some stubble, right? So that was, again, by far the longest post I've made. I think it took me like 40 minutes just to go over it without many breaks. But look what's going on. I mean, this is crazy. I don't know if anyone's connected the death of Cameron Ray at Marquette to everything that's going on, but man, oh man. And my only question is this riddle too good? You know, like, could the NFL afford to have the Ravens go to the Super Bowl and win it when a video like this decoding it already exists? I don't know. All I know is I'm exhausted from talking about this. I've beaten the dead horse over and over again, and I think I'm done. So, very obviously, it's definitely connected to the game. But what if the Ravens don't even go to it? You know, this is all the proof you'll ever need that there are multiple teams scripted for each Super Bowl. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Things are going to be a little bit slow for the next few days, so sit tight. I'll be back in full force next week. But yeah, for anyone who enjoys the work, please feel free to like, share, subscribe. As always, check the links below in the description if you'd like to support the work. You also get access to new features and tools on the website. But that'll do it. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.